Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money channel. So guys, I got Bitcoin up here on the daily, and as you can see on the daily, we made a little bit of a move within the last few hours. Let me put it on the hourly for a second, and I can show you guys. It's now looking like more buying pressure is present here on the Bitcoin chart, and guys, you can see that too with other cryptocurrencies. This is XRP. You can see that trend moving upward. Nothing really to write home about at this moment in time, but right now XRP trading at 0.222 cents. Okay, so it was up just over 2% in the last 24 hours, and this is the ebb and flow of the market, guys. We're just waiting for that big burst of bullish buying pressure before we can see new highs for XRP. Guys, I wanted to show you this. I took a screen grab of my Twitter when I was at 9,999 followers. You can see that the other day, and just the other day, I did reach that 10,000 follower mark. So thanks, guys, so much. Just wanted to thank you all for following me, watching the video, subscribing to the channel. I thought that was kind of a cool milestone. I never thought I would hit 10,000 followers on Twitter. So guys, thank you so much. If you're not following me on Twitter, I'm at WorkingMoney589 on Twitter. I know for some of you guys, Twitter's your jam, and I always post my videos on Twitter when I have released them, so you will find me on Twitter as well as YouTube, of course. Just wanted to mention that real quick before I move on to this. So Ripple moves 356,207,423 XRP as Bitcoin whales transfer about 134.6 million in Bitcoin. So crypto traders are trying to determine why Ripple is moving this amount worth about $78.4 million. The San Francisco-based startup, which owns more than half of all XRP in existence, sent the XRP to unknown wallets in two separate transactions. The first transfer happened on Wednesday, with the second coming through 2 days later. So some people down here are speculating that it was a transfer that is connected to the Luxembourg-based crypto exchange Bitstamp, and trading speculators are assuming that this is one of those over-the-counter sales, and they're questioning whether Bitstamp plans to join Ripple's XRP-based liquidity solution. Well, we know Ripple is continually making deals with exchanges around the globe in strategic corridors for a liquidity solution, because they are going to need crypto exchanges to provide that liquidity for their customers for those cross-border payments. So could this be another one? It is quite possible. And when you see these amounts of XRP being exchanged, you're just thinking to yourself, well, if they are transferring over 350 million XRP, that's just one exchange. That's just one transfer of 350 million. Now multiply that by multiple transfers for certain exchanges, then times the amount of exchanges that they have partnerships with. And guys, this is just the beginning. They are going to continue to build partnerships and continue to transfer this XRP. So you can imagine how much XRP they are assuming the ecosystem is going to need once everything is put in place. Just get that number in your head, whatever that number is, just get that number in your head. Think about the amount of XRP that is going to be needed, because the demand for XRP is going to be there. So these whale alerts at the moment don't really mean anything to us, but if you can look past today, and if you can really just kind of gauge how this ecosystem is developing and where we're going with this, it really is quite remarkable. I saw this from XRP Crypto Wolf on Twitter, and so this has to do with Nasdaq and how they're currently exploring a Bitcoin futures product with an unnamed partner. Now, we know that there are Bitcoin futures products already, and Nasdaq wants to throw their hat in the ring as well. In November 2017, the Wall Street Journal reported Nasdaq was working on such a product with Cantor Fitzgerald, aiming for a launch in the first half of 2018. Since then, a number of Bitcoin derivative products have come to market, including Bitcoin futures by rival Intercontinental Exchange, which launched via its backed subsidiary in September 2019. So the Nasdaq wants to ensure that it can bring to market a product that is differentiated from the competition. Second, it wants to ensure it has the proper risk management foundation in place for a future tied to the cryptocurrency. So the first thing is that you are going to create a product. You want to know that people are going to use it and use it differently than how it is being used today, Friedman said. And the second thing is we have to self-certify as a futures exchange for this, and we would use our NFX license to do that, but we have to make sure from a risk management perspective we are fully prepared. Those are the two things we are still working on. So this just going to show you that cryptocurrency is an emerging asset, is something people want to trade. There are already Bitcoin futures in existence on Wall Street. And now Nasdaq wants to get into the game. So I find this important because it gives us a picture of where we're going with cryptocurrencies generally. Okay, guys, and if you're looking at this chart and you're like, well, why haven't we mooned yet? And I'm bored sitting here watching my XRP not doing too much. Let's not forget, guys, even in a crypto market, the cycles take about 4 years to really peak, to really moon, right? We saw Bitcoin moon in 2013, then in 2017. And now a lot of us are thinking that Bitcoin will reach another all-time high by 2021. And so those are the predictions that are out there. But in the meantime, we're going to see it ramp up. We're going to see it break its all-time high, bring other cryptocurrencies along for the ride. And that's just the spec market, folks. Let's not forget the real-world utility. It's a double-edged sword. I've been saying this from the beginning. We've got the spec run, which is all fine and good. We could reach new all-time highs with just the spec run. And that's what got us into this space to begin with, right? 2017, the spec run, we saw XRP go up to $3.80. And if you think about how much XRP you had back then versus how much XRP you have now, I know me, for example, I probably have, let's say, somewhere between 15 and 20 times more XRP than I had back then. Yeah, so I've upped my ante 15x to 20x. I don't have the math in front of me right now. I'm just kind of doing it off the top of my head because I've accumulated. I've taken my own advice, which is not financial advice, and I accumulated over this time, especially when XRP was in the 20s, and then below at 19.6, I accumulated quite a bit more. So guys, this is kind of where we're at right now. It's a waiting game at this moment. This from the XRP arcade. So Himalayan Bank is now a Ripple customer. According to Mr. Ashok SJB Rana, who is the CEO of the Himalayan Bank Limited, in a statement, he said, "We are proud to be among the major remittance service providers in the country. The remittance business is growing day by day with exploration of new avenues of business in the Korean Peninsula, Japan, and other countries. We have also tied up with Ripple and expect to start our services through them very soon." So this is the first known bank to work with Ripple in Nepal, a country with 29.3 million people that received $8.1 billion in remittances in 2018, making it the 19th biggest beneficiary of funds sent by migrants around the world. The percentage of inward remittances summed up to a staggering 28% of the country's GDP in 2018. Okay, guys, and then here's a couple of charts just demonstrating the billions of dollars sent, percentage of GDP for 2018. These are the 2018 factors. So yeah, another country, Nepal, and the Himalayan Bank Limited now connecting with Ripple. And guys, I had to talk about this because this has to do with the Middle East and the Suez Canal Bank in particular. So MoneyGram. So, and also the fact that MoneyGram is the one making the strategic partnership. Remember how I said in a former video how the web is just getting bigger and bigger. It's not just Ripple now making partnerships. It is Ripple's partners who are making partnerships. So MoneyGram has announced a strategic partnership with the Suez Canal Bank, allowing customers from around the world to send money directly to account holders in Egypt. Just going to go down here and read this quote from Grant Lyons, MoneyGram's chief revenue officer. "As we execute our digital transformation to lead the industry in the digital movement of money, a key strategic priority is expanding account deposit services in major international markets. Egypt received $29 billion in remittances in 2018, up 17% from 2017, with the remittance market accounting for 11.6% of the country's gross domestic product, according to the World Bank. So in a similar situation to Nepal, where a lot of their GDP depends on migrant workers, depends on people working abroad, sending money back home. So this kind of service is critical for a lot of these types of countries' economies. And I have a feeling that that is one of the reasons why Ripple technology is getting adopted in these types of countries first. A lot of these governments are realizing, oh, you can do this fast? Well, this is good for our economy. This makes sense for us. And maybe part of the reason why we're lagging a little bit here in the West. We do not rely on our workers here in the West to go work abroad and send money back home the same way that some of these other countries do. So that could be part of the reason why we are lagging with cryptocurrency regulatory clarity. Nevertheless, we are continuing to glance at our watches, always thinking, when is that regulation going to kick in? I can't wait to see my investment explode. And you guys know how there's always kind of been this talk in the space about XRP replacing the US dollar as a world reserve currency. And how, some people are finding that a little far-fetched, how, it'll never be a world reserve currency. Well, I don't think it will be today necessarily, but That's not to say that we can predict what the future will hold, because the economic conditions around the world are ever changing, and there's so many factors at play that we just can't nail down. It's so difficult to predict how the economy is going to move in the coming decade. Will there be a cryptocurrency? I'm not talking about a stable coin, but a cryptocurrency that could replace the US dollar as that world reserve currency. Well, guys, I saw this from XRP Crypto Wolf. He sent me this. Middle Eastern oil producing nations want dollar alternatives for cross-border settlements, but not Bitcoin. So he sent me this from CoinDesk, and this was discussed in Davos. Most Middle Eastern elites at the World Economic Forum are highly skeptical of Bitcoin, but there are whispers about its potential for cross-border settlements in the energy sector. So these guys here, so let me just read you a little bit of this. According to Egyptian businessman M. Shafiq Gabir, chairman of the ARTOC Group for Investment and Development, some Middle Eastern nations are already exploring the possibility of settling oil contracts in Bitcoin, okay? But he declined to specify which, and most of the leaders gathered in Davos for the annual conference that wrapped up Friday are adamant they see Bitcoin's post-sovereign nature as anathema. Fellow Egyptian investor Ahmad Hekal, CEO of Kala Holdings, says he's not bullish on Bitcoin because it doesn't have the legal framework for such wholesale deals. If nations or energy enterprises are to use Bitcoin, he argued, it won't be for at least another decade. So those are just the first two paragraphs of this article here. Guys, I'm going to give you the gist of it. These guys are gathering, they're realizing, look, the US, there are some benefits to using the US dollar as that reserve for oil, but they don't want to be at the mercy of the US dollar. So is there another option? They were talking about using the euro at some point in time, and then they were thinking about Bitcoin. But, some of them are pro-Bitcoin, some of them are against Bitcoin for all those same reasons that we hear, right? It's volatile, it's not regulated, so on and so forth. Now, they don't mention XRP in this article, and they don't mention Ripple, but if I just were to tell you that, and you know what you know about Ripple and XRP, what would your next line of thinking be? Well, why don't they just use XRP, right? Think about it for a second there, let it sink in. And again, this article just talks about potentially using Bitcoin as that world reserve for oil contracts, to settle oil contracts. So that's what they were talking about here. Who knows what was going on at Davos behind closed doors? Who knows who had meetings with representatives of Ripple, maybe Brad Garlinghouse? We know he was at Davos, we know he was there with these people, and we know that he's a very personable guy, likes to schmooze the room. So could we see a more highly transparent cryptocurrency become that currency that they decide to settle oil in? It is quite the possibility. And guys, you know I'm speculating here, but when you have these types of guys going to these conferences, right, they're looking to make connections to help continue to propel their businesses forward. For Ripple right now, that's cross-border remittances, but Ripple has an invested interest in keeping the XRP ecosystem thriving. Like I said, guys, XRP is not going to replace the US dollar tomorrow. Maybe not even this year, and maybe not even within the next couple of years, but because it was created out of Bitcoin shortcomings, because it was created to essentially be a better Bitcoin, and the fact that these elite Middle Eastern oil producers are looking for an alternative and toying with the idea of using Bitcoin, wouldn't it just make sense? It does to me, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.